Hello, welcome back. So now it's time to try and fix the power supply. So from our friends at Retro Clinic, I've managed to get this repair kit, which has 3 capacitors, a couple of X2s and an electrolytic capacitor. So now I'm going to have to solder it back in and we'll see if it works. So So here's a lovely power supply. Now, there are 3 main components. So looking at their pretty clear documentation, there are 3 components that we're gonna change. So the first thing I've got to find them. So there's a couple of X2 capacitors and an electrolytic. This is the smaller one of the kits. So they do another kit where every single capacitor is changed. But I'm just going to be a bit of a cheapskate and we'll try with the 2 X2s and the electrolytic. So first off, we identify them on the board. So let me just make sure I can see this. Now, this is the one that went bang. So lots of smoke came out of that one there, and that was quite spectacular. Unfortunately, I don't think you really got to see it much on the video, but hey, never mind. I'm sure there'll be other things that blow up in the future. That's the other one, so that's the other X2. That one seems to be intact and working. And then that one there is electrolytic. Again, that looks fine, but I think for good measure, we've got it in the kit, so we'll just replace it anyway. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is identify whereabouts they are on the reverse of the board. I'm going to start with this bad boy first. This is the main culprit. And then we'll desolder it and have a look. So these are the 2 pins that we want to desolder, this one here and this one here. So I've got your standard kind of solder sucker scenario where you stick it on, push the button and off you go. And a fairly ordinary run-of-the-mill bench soldering iron. I've set it to reasonably hot, but not too hot, about 350, something like that. I don't want to go around burning anything, so let's get that off and see how well we get on. So clean my tip and then get some solder on the end of that. Okay, so clean the tip, some solder on that, ready to go, and let's see if we can get this thing out. Let's keep the end of that tip a little bit wet, otherwise it's not going to make good enough contact. I recently bought a new flux pen, which can be useful. Also bought some flux paste, but one thing I forgot to get is some wick. So we'll see whether that comes off okay. Normally, this thing looks. Apologies, this thing looks really stupid, but as you get older, you start to see less. Anyway, so I need to get some wick, solder wick. Don't have any, unfortunately, but hopefully we can get away with it, and I think that's desoldered reasonably well. So we'll see if we can get the component out and see literally what the damage is. Okay, so it's all nice and loose. Almost feels like some kind of strange dental extraction, but this poor thing is really in a bad way. Let's see if we can pull it out. Oh my goodness, it's actually disintegrating. So there it is in all of its glory. So it really went up well. So the insulation failed and cracked, and actually looks like it was down there where most of the damage, that's where it started leaking out. And yeah, it went well. So we'll get rid of that. So we'll replace that X2. In fact, there's even a bit more of it, and you can see that on the camera. There's actually bits of it still left down there, so we've got to get rid of that. My goodness me, that really is bad. So yeah, there's even more of it down there. So I'll have to clean that up a little bit. So anyway, next thing I'm going to remove that X2 there. Move this out of the way. That X2 there, and that capacitor there, that electrolytic. Okay, next one is the next capacitor, next X2 to come out there. This one actually looks in pretty good nick, but when they're old, they get very grumpy, and eventually they blow up. So it's really best to get rid of those. I'm wondering whether I should have used my desoldering gun. I've got one of those desoldering pumps, but I don't really get on very well with it, I've got to say. Okay, so that's the other X2 that's come out. That one is actually in perfect condition. That's probably perfectly serviceable, but we got it in the kit. We're going to get rid of it, and we'll see what happens. Okay, put that in there. The last one is the electrolytic. So according to the very helpful diagram, the electrolytic is, the startup cap is 220 microfarad at 10 volt, and we've got to make sure we put it back in the right way, because obviously they've got polarity. So let's not mess that up, Rich. Problem is finding it. Well, I've had a bit of a change of plan. So I'm not going to bother with that electrolytic. It looks in good nick. If it does go, then we can replace it. I think for now, I'm quite keen to get these X2s in there, and then we'll see what's going on. So this is the replacement X2. You see it's much cleaner, brand new. So that one is a 100 nanofarad X2 capacitor. Essentially these go pretty much across the mains. That's why when they go, they really go. Okay, so let's get that bad boy in now. Oops, missed. Okay, so let's get that bad boy in there. So I've put the X2 bag in. We're going to solder it in place. Okay. And cut those leads. Okay, that's one. And the other capacitor here, 10 nanofarad X2, and that was here somewhere. Okay. Bend the lead slightly so it grips the board. Okay. Right, good. Okay, that doesn't look too bad. I'm going to clean the flux up a little bit because it's got a little bit messy, and then we'll plug it back in. I'm going to clean the flux up a little bit. It's a little bit messy. Just turn that off, and then we're going to plug it in and see what happens. Okay, so the power supply is now back together. I screwed it all back together. I pushed the power switch back in. Other than that, I think it's going to be okay. So yeah, let's get it back into the machine and see what happens. I don't think I've missed anything. I'll soon find out if I have. So since we were here last time, I did take the opportunity to straighten out this board and seat it. So that is sitting better now. I don't like the fact this is flapping about, but it seems to be seated nicely now on its holder. So you never know, it might be that's causing it to not boot up. We'll see. Obviously, smoke coming out of your power supply is an indicator that things have gone bad, but during the time when it was up, it did seem to have the correct voltages. So you never know, maybe there's other deeper faults. Hopefully now with the repaired power supply we can have a go and boot it up. So I'm going to leave this switch floating about a little bit just in case there's other issues. That's not going to cause too many problems. So this thing goes upside down, so there's no So I'm going to feed the power supply back in here now. This thing, as you can see, effectively goes upside down. So there's no lid. So it's actually quite a neat design. So this all hidden away and relatively safe. But under the bottom here, you can see there's a grill. So it's actually quite useful from a heat dissipation perspective. So it's safe, and it means they can. Well, it's cheaper, I suppose, as well, because it doesn't have to have a lid. So we'll see. I quite like the way that's designed as well, because you see here you have that power connector there. So for devices that are plugged to the expansion port, so that at the bottom the power comes out there. So that supports disk drives and everything else. So it's quite a neat little design. Anyway. So the first thing is this one. So this is actually a negative 5 volts. You know that because it is purple, although it's rather faded these days. So we'll see what else we're going to do. Luckily the wiring loom is a reasonable, it's cut to size. So you can see here you've got 0 volts. So that's black. And then VCC, that's plus 5 volts. And another one somewhere. Where's the other one? No, it's right in front of my face. Okay, so VCC 2 and 0 volts. Another one which is here, right by the ROM chips. So VCC 3, and you can't see any of that. That's really bad. Okay, I've got to get better at doing this. Okay, fine. So that's now plugged in, and hopefully we plug it in, switch it on, there'll be a beep beep kind of noise, which would be good. I'm going to switch this on here, and I'm going to use my on-off switch on my power block, so that'll be a lot easier to manage. So the question is, will it boot? I must also apologise about my COVID-19 comb over. Well, I would say that was a big fat nothing. Okay, let's go for the turn on. Oh, that's a big fat nothing. That's a shame. Okay, well it's more or less as it was before, I guess, because it wasn't beeping before, and it was a bit of a guess as to whether it was gonna work. So let's do a test. What voltages? Perfect, 5 volts. That's really good. So I mean, it's plugged in the other places, so it's, you know, consistently 5 volts. So I'd say that power supply is working fine, even if the rest of the machine isn't. Oh well, you win some, you lose some, I guess. Right, so now I've rigged up a composite video output, a telly, because you never know. It'd be good to test the composite output. Oh, we got a noise. I didn't expect that. Well, we got a noise anyway. What is going on there? Is that when I do that? Nope. It's an improvement. What that means? Okay, I think what I might do is disconnect the keyboard just in case, and try it again. Nope. Wow. Okay, well, I think that is, strangely, progress. I'm going to plug this back in before I break it. Okay. Well, there you go. Strange noises from the BBC. Interesting. Can't think that adding that composite made any difference whatsoever, but not the most encouraging noise, but it's better than it was. You never know. Maybe there is some life in here after all. Let's do it one more time. Oh. A faint noise. A cry of pain from the 1980s. So I suppose it could be progress. I mean, it's making a weird noise, so that's got to be better than before. So I'm not sure. I'm going to have to do some more investigation. The voltages seem okay, and if there was some kind of short or it was taking too much current, then you'd expect the voltage to drop, but it seems reasonably stable. So I guess the next thing is to hook up my oscilloscope and see if there's any life, any clock pulses. The plot thickens.